When you think of Africa, you think of a continent rich in mineral resources as well as cultural diversity. What you may be oblivious to are the various individuals whose pockets rival those of other billionaires on the other side of the world. There are a few notable billionaires in Africa that are worth mentioning, even though they may not garner as much attention as billionaires in North America or Asia do. So who are these people? What is their source of income? And how do they spend it? Keep watching to find out. Billionaires. Billionaires in Africa are wealthier than they have been in years. The continent's 18 billionaires are worth an estimated $84.9 billion as a group, a 15% increase from a year ago, and the highest tally since at least 2015. Soaring stock prices lifted the fortunes of these businessmen from Nigeria to South Africa as demand for products and services ranging from telecommunications to luxury goods increased. The number one name on the list of the wealthiest people on the continent is Nigeria's Aliko Dangote. Aliko Dangote of Nigeria, who has held the title of the richest person on the continent for the past 11 years, is now estimated to be worth $13.9 billion, up from $1.2 billion the year before, thanks to a 30% increase in the stock price of his most valuable asset, Dangote Cement. In addition to being the richest person in Nigeria, Forbes lists Aliko Dangote as the richest black person on the planet. His success has made him a major inspiration for business owners in Nigeria and all of Africa, especially those who aspire to start small but with big dreams. He was born in 1957, with his family and upbringing having a significant impact on his accomplishments. In the Nigerian state of Kano, Dangote was raised in a family of business owners. He is the founder of the Nigerian multi-billion-dollar industrial conglomerate Dangote Group. The firm was founded in 1981 as a trading company that shipped products like rice, sugar, cement, fisheries, and other consumer goods for sale on the Nigerian market. Owning a private jet isn't for everyone. It costs a lot of money, but for the richest black man, this isn't an issue because keeping up with his commitments is extremely important. Traveling with Nigeria's airliners, even in business class, can be tricky with frequent disruptions and rerouting inconveniencing everyone, especially those who value time. Well, if there's anyone who values his time, it's definitely the wealthiest African on Earth. Dangote purchased a Bombardier aircraft in 2010 for his personal use. It was acquired the day before his 53rd birthday. He received the brand new Bombardier Global Express XRS in Ikeja, Lagos from the Canadian facilities of Bombardier Aerospace. The airplane cost him a whopping $45 million. Johann Rupert. Let's leave West Africa behind and head south to meet the other billionaire doing South Africa proud. I'm referring to none other than Johann Rupert. The 71-year-old entrepreneur is not only the second richest person on the African continent, but also South Africa's richest citizen. According to Forbes, the super-rich Rupert has a bank balance of nearly $8 billion. Despite his fame and fortune, Rupert is a notoriously private person who prefers to live his life away from the spotlight. The Ruperts live in a lush mansion in Cape Town, South Africa. They own substantial tracts of farmland in South Africa, like the Laor Marins wine estate, located in Franschhoek, one of South Africa's well-known wine-producing regions. A car enthusiast, the Richemont CEO invested a sizable portion of his wealth, like many of his wealthy peers, in automobiles. It is clear the billionaire has a true passion for cars. In fact, his collection is so vast that he founded the Franschhoek Motor Museum. Over 220 of Rupert's personal automobiles, including many vintage cars and even some racing cars, are displayed in the museum, which is open to the public. Besides investing in wine, cars, and real estate, the South African has invested a sizable portion of his wealth in sports and the growth of the sporting industry. Rupert enjoys golf and was a former cricket player. He created the Leopard Creek Golf Club in the Mpumalanga region of South Africa, one of the top courses in the nation. It was once ranked by Golf Digest as the 25th best course outside of the United States. The man himself has invested in the professional English rugby team Saracens, holding a 50% stake until 2018 when he sold it to Nigel Ray. In addition to all of these, the South African billionaire established the Laureus Sport for Good Foundation with the mission of using sport to improve communities. The 72-year-old is a generous man who donates a substantial chunk of his wealth to charitable and humanitarian enterprises, mostly in his family's native land of South Africa. The Rupert family donates to a range of groups, institutions, and charities. He has had an impact on the lives of many South Africans, from education to arts and culture. Rupert supports several bursary programs and has granted over 130 full title deeds to homes in South Africa's township, offering much-needed accommodation for some of the country's most impoverished residents. Nicky Oppenheimer. Let's remain in the South, but this time we're talking about Nicky Oppenheimer. Nicholas F. Oppenheimer, also known as Nicky Oppenheimer, is an entrepreneur and philanthropist from South Africa. The diamond tycoon is Africa's third richest person, with an estimated worth of $8.6 billion. He serves as the chairman of De Beers and its subsidiary, the Diamond Trading Company. He also has a substantial financial stake in Anglo American, a diversified mining company. Oppenheimer owns Waltham Palace in England, as well as the Brenthurst Gardens estate in Johannesburg. One of the biggest private game reserves in South Africa is also owned by the 77-year-old billionaire and is called the Zawalu Kalahari Reserve. Since 1968, Oppenheimer has been married to his lovely wife, Orcelia Lash, who is the daughter of business magnate Heli Lash. He currently resides in Johannesburg with his wife and their multi-million-dollar home. It is just natural that you'll find a fleet of luxurious vehicles in a billionaire's garage, and Oppenheimer is definitely not lacking in that department. A $3 million Mercedes-Benz McLaren is among the plenty flashy cars in his collection. He also owns a $50,000 BMW i3 EV. As a charitable man to the core, Nicky has donated a significant portion of his wealth to good causes. He has wasted no time in investing a lot of his hard-earned cash in preserving South African culture. Nassif Sawiris. After traveling from the west to the south, we've arrived in the land of the pharaohs. According to Forbes, the Egyptian Nassif Sawiris is the fourth richest person in Africa, worth an outstanding $7 billion. The businessman comes from the illustrious Sawiris family. The Sawiris family is Egypt's wealthiest household, with investments in nearly every sector of the Egyptian economy. Ansi Sawiris is the Sawiris family patriarch. The 90-year-old business magnate founded the company in 1950 and successfully passed it down to his two sons, Nassif and Naguib. Nassif is the younger and wealthier of the two sons. He manages and owns Orascom Construction, the Sawiris family's construction company. Aside from the family business, he does have a few financial holdings and dealings. The Cairo native hasn't lost sight of his roots, either in his native country or in the building industry. He has a significant role in the enormous new administrative capital project that is currently being built to the east of the city. The new Egyptian parliament, the National Opera House, the central bank, and a cathedral will be among the landmarks of the project, which is expected to create a new metropolis by the middle of the century that can accommodate up to 7 million people. As an avid sports investor, Sawiris holds a 6% stake in Adidas and a 5% stake in Madison Square Garden Sports, the company that owns the New York Rangers and Knicks. Along with Wes Edens, he also shares ownership of the Premier League team Aston Villa. Despite being the richest Arab in the world, the father of four does not enjoy the limelight and instead prefers to keep a low profile, which he's been able to do in part because he is not a typical rags to riches story. Mike Adenuga. Mike Adenuga's rise to riches is the typical grass to grace story. He sold laces and soft drinks early on before hitting the big time. Mike's enormous success in the oil and telecommunications sectors has made him one of Africa's fastest rising billionaires. With a bank account of $5.6 billion, he ranks fifth in terms of wealth on the African continent and is the second richest person in Nigeria. He owns a 3-hectare estate that is fully automated, from the lights to the doors, and is furnished with cutting-edge technology. You'll go to his garage and you'll find a billionaire who loves his cars. The 69-year-old owns a Bentley Continental GT, a Mercedes-Benz AMG G63, and a Rolls-Royce Phantom. Although these African billionaires are not much of the money spenders like the Americans, we cannot deny that these men are stupidly rich. Finally, make sure to drop a like on this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content.